think there's 4 or 5 guys on this team that are capable of hitting a home run if they get that kind of work.
Ooh, nice. That's a deep center.
That'll have them running for a while.
Let's go!
Home run! Wow! Nick Maharan, the first edge home run of the season!
That counts as 2 points, right?
Yes, ma'am! An absolute blast! 2 pitches and 2 blasts, and one of them a home run.
Way to go, Byou!
Home run! And what was Shay just saying?
Exactly.
What has she just said? And he muscled up and drilled one out of here.
There you go.
That should do it. Corian gonna ease. Got it! Out! Out! What a winner! An Edge Strong winner and a championship. The Indy Edge win Bolingbrook.
And we finally beat the Jets.
And for the first time in team history, the Indy Edge have beaten the San Antonio Jets. 14-9 the final.
Hey, Beat Baseball World. Welcome to the Beat Ball Blues Show, episode number 86 of TBBS, closing in on 100 episodes. I love that. I love that we are building towards that number, and I've learned that it's not that important to tell you who I am, but it is always important to tell you that I'm joined by Seth Bam Clark. Hey, Seth Dog.
No, man, you got to tell people who you are, else
Nah.
they think you're a diva, man. Like, oh, you should know who I am. The rest of these fools up here, you don't know them, but you know
I can't
me,
win.
so.
I introduce myself. You're like, oh yeah, you always got to throw out.
I just said I said perhaps we don't need the fluff. Just,
Well, there you go.
Hey, it's Devil Dog. It's Devil Dog. And Bam.
Take this how you
but
want.
you know, if you can't handle it, I could always do the intro.
Take this how you want.
Hello, Beat Ball World. It's me, Bam, and I am joined by Devil DAWG. Welcome, Devil Dog. How you doing today, my brother? You say?
I just wanted to say that officially, I'm never gonna fluff you again. Take it how you want. We gotta start with breaking news. Breaking news coming right out of here in Northern California, home of your 7-time champion West Coast Dogs. The bid for the West Coast Dogs to return to the World Series has taken a hit. As our future All-Star Hall of Fame pitcher is going to be traveling out of state to play college football. Any comments, Coach? Dad?
Oh, man, couldn't be more proud of the boy, but it does hurt our little chances at beat ball success. But after 4 or 5 years of tearing up the college ranks, he will learn all that stuff and bring it back to us.
4 or 5 years going to a special ed college. 5 years.
No, well, he could actually get done with his double degrees, math and physics, or physics and math, in like 3 years, and then he could whatever.
He clearly is way too smart to play b-ball or football.
Oh, yeah.
Going after math and physics. GPA like 4.3.
No, he's far too smart to be playing these contact sports, but we do what we do. I remember sitting in a gifted and talented teacher meeting or parent meeting and mentioning that he played football, and I could just almost hear the parents gasping around the room. You let him play football? Of course I do. Yes. We're a football team.
And my daughter and my other son.
Yeah, exactly. We're a football family. It's a football school here.
Well, congratulations to you, Dad, and to Trajan Clark of the Bayou City Heat and West Coast Dogs future, getting not only into college, but getting to continue his dream of playing football. So good for him.
He's a Bearcat now. Not a Cincinnati Bearcat, but he is a Bearcat.
We have nothing to give away, but I'm sure the password next time will be Bearcats.
Yes,
No more banana slugs.
Yes,
That's where we thought he was going.
Well, you know,
more local.
And you know, the Bearcats are like panda bears. They're like little panda bears. They're cute, cuddly little animals.
You know, I don't remember seeing a lot of them, but when I could see back in the 70s, I remember my mom had like a little not toy, but a little panda bear thing that like attached to, I don't know, like the side of a vase or something that looked kind of cute.
Right.
And then I remember when I did finally see one in person that it looked just like her little toy panda bear. Like it still looked like a cute little toy kind of thing or whatever. So, but I have little memory of panda bears, sight wise, but I do remember them being cute little things.
Yeah, cute. Okay, red pandas. They look like a red panda. They're red pandas. But we digress.
Yeah, moving on.
Do we have Darnell? But I was confused. All right, before we bring on.
Oh, you're gonna get Nick mad. You're gonna get Nick mad.
All right, I don't want to get Nick mad, man, but I was confused, man. When he's like, man, Darnell Booker sounded really stressed on the show or nervous, and I was like, man, am I confused? Did we have Darnell Booker? Do all? Demo, I don't want to say, or I'm sorry. Perhaps. Demo, are you black?
Yes.
See,
yes.
Nick is racial profile, and all brothers sound alike, man. All brothers sound alike, man.
So I couldn't figure out it because it's not like Nick doesn't know Booker and Demo. So I couldn't figure out if he just posted on the wrong link, like had listened to the show on YouTube, then came back to the Nation to post a message and just went to the wrong one, or if he really thought you, Demo, were Booker for a whole show. For one, do you think you sound like Booker? And two, why would you sound nervous?
All right.
Yeah. No, he must have posted on the wrong show. He had to have posted on the wrong show.
I did think it was funny that DB made some kind of biblical response. I don't get that. I don't know the Bible, so I didn't really get the reference. But I don't know. DB is like, you might have to consult the Book of Matthews for that or something like that. I don't know. I thought it was comical. So, anyways, welcome back again, Demo.
I can announce him and our guest. Bringing in our guest, Demo. Hey, Demo, how are you doing today, man?
You want to take the lead?
Doing good.
I know you can. I know you have all your notes from the tournament already.
I caught a full Bayou City Heat game yesterday, and I caught the first 2 innings of that championship game today, man. So I'm doing well. I'm a little down from what I got last week, but I'm hanging in there, man. I'm hanging in there, dude.
All right.
I'm tracking with the tournament now, man. I'm tracking.
So we do have a big Bolingbrook tournament I don't know if it had all kinds of exciting action, but it certainly had a lot of action. Demo is kind enough to join us again since he's always got his ear to the ground in the world of beat baseball. So we can run down this whole tournament. I'll give out the brackets real quick. In the Bolingbrook 2022 Bolingbrook tournament, bracket A had Chicago Comets, Cleveland Scrappers, San Antonio Jets, and Austin Blackhawks, just like Demo told me it would last week. Told us. Sorry. Bracket B, Minnesota Millers, Indy Edge.
Billers, hey, hi, Billers. No,
Indy Edge, Indy Thunder, and the Bayou City Heat.
Bayou City, what time is it? Sorry.
So we'll pop through the round one game, see what was big to talk about early out of the.
Joseph Fleeks with the walk-off win for the Bayou City Heat over the Chicago Comets. I'm sorry.
Minnesota Millers.
Miller. Was it the Miller? It was a Chicago. I don't. Was it? I listened to that entire game. Never knew who they were playing.
the Minnesota Billers.
Yeah, that's funny, man. Because I thought it was the Comets, man. It was. I'd sit there like, God, who are they playing? Will somebody say who they're playing? But that's good. Thank you, man. Great win over the Millers, Joseph.
15-14, our final score. JoJo Fleeks with the walk-off for Bayou City. That's a good game for Minnesota.
That was an awesome game for Minnesota.
They were leading, and whenever you throw away a lead, I don't think it's a good lead, necessarily a good game. But
since you caught the game, how far were they leading? You know, what kind of game was it?
They seemed to jump out to a quick lead, like 6 or 7 or 6 or something like that. And it was just that early. Sometimes as we all see in beat ball, people jump on teams early in the first innings or whatever. And so it was
especially
just
the morning games, like takes a minute for the defense to get some snap in their legs.
Yeah, so it was just kind of like that. And then, but it was really the last inning. I thought the Heat was going to kind of go down, but then Fonzie got hot in that 6th inning, like Fonzie has a propensity to do. So, but it didn't look good for the Heat. And then all of a sudden things turned around.
The Millers were, at the top of the 6th, they put up 3 runs, and they had the top of their lineup coming up with 1 out. And fortunately for the Heat, they got the next 2 outs to stop that rally. I think if the Millers could have put up, 2-3 more runs, like it'd have put it a lot further out of reach for the Heat to come back.
All right. It's always hard. Like when you have a good pitcher like Fonzie and you're not that far down, you always have hope. You know what I'm saying? And so once Fonzie starts to roll a little bit, the Heat gets fired up, and the other team starts to question themselves. But if it would have been a bigger lead, then again, I didn't necessarily think the Heat was gonna do it. It didn't look like they were gonna do it, but
I felt like a 3-run lead wasn't enough in the show.
Right.
It wasn't
exactly
enough.
Right. Exactly.
In the other game in that bracket, the Edge beat the Thunder 13-4. I never heard anything of that being like a run roll or anything. That just got played out normal, yeah. To the best,
of our
knowledge. All right, bracket A. We had the Edge beat the Comets 14-6. That was a game.
The Jets.
Hold on. Yeah.
The Jets beat the Comets.
You just said the Edge.
You said the Edge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, good catch, fellas.
It's all good. We were just gonna let it roll. It's all good.
I did that. It was embarrassing. I did that. I tried to bring up I've been calling in, Seth, to the ranking committee meetings, and I brought up that it had already been brought up. I just missed it, but I made sure, I was making sure that they knew, like in the second Comets game last week at Indy, that Chad Perry hadn't pitched, but I didn't. It was against Atlanta, but I didn't say Atlanta. I did my usual thing and screwed up names. I said the Archers, and so then it just looked like I brought up something that's already been brought up to say the wrong team. It's like, I'll go back on mute, everybody. I'm not as dumb as I look right now.
You had to be the big man.
Who's the man now, dog? All right, so the Jets over the Comets 14-6. That was a game that the Jets were kind of struggling to stay ahead of the Comets, but then late they just pulled away. We're going to talk more about it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say best wishes to Juan Gonzalez, who dislocated his shoulder.
Oh yeah, that was that game. Good call. Yeah, Juan Gonzalez from the Chicago Comets. I didn't want to bring up because I know Seth's gonna attack me.
I was gonna say, why don't you tell us exactly how that happens?
How you dislocate your shoulder on defense and then get taken off the field in the ambulance, dude. They brought the sirens coming and going too. When they left, they had the sirens on. With me, There was no sirens. They came and got me and took me away. The game continued. But you know the other part, he way trumps me. He made the play. He just located his shoulder on a play and made the play.
I guess if you're going to dislocate your shoulder, you might as well make the play. Man.
I would try.
Laying there right next to the damn ball, man. Just pick up the ball, dude. Pick up the ball.
Demo, my team cared so much. While I'm laying there on the field, they're walking up making jokes. Like Roger was calling me, who's the quarterback for the Bears that used to always get hurt? The cool quarterback with the glasses.
McMahon.
Yeah. Then Roger came up, called me Jim McMahon. Cecily's sitting there on the side of the field going, Emmitt Smith got up and played in the NFC Championship game. You're just going to lay there. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the love. But according to White Lightning, I hope his information's right. He's going to be on this shelf, Juan will, for the next 3 weeks or so. So couldn't have been a complete dislocation, but hopefully he's going to be healthy and be able to play come World Series. But shout out to Juan for making the play, being a tough dude. Is that it for that? And then the day started for me with a shocker with the Scrappers beating the Blackhawks 10-6. I don't know what's going on with the Blackhawks and their offense. When I had them
once you freaking gave them the Neil Dog curse.
I know. It's like Sports Illustrated putting you on the front page.
Yeah, right. Like, oh man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them, but one thing I thought we could count on from Austin is that Tim and their offense would come through, and it did not this weekend.
What is that going to change your rankings at all? I digress. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I don't have my rankings done, but of course my rankings are changing. Of course, been busy trying to get ready to do the show, and haven't even put much into it. But before we sign out, I'll definitely talk about teams I'm high and low on coming out of these 2 weeks. As if
clearly,
still high and high low.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's move on to round 2, bracket A. The Chicago Comets, a team I'm high on, coming out of these last 2 weeks. Beat the Austin Blackhawks 11-6.
What?
The Jets.
Blackhawks?
What's that? I'm sorry, sir.
I said the Blackhawks lost 2 in a row. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you said?
Wait, just keep going.
Yeah. Don't stop there. We got 2 more rounds. The Jets defeated the Scrappers 15-4. Over in bracket B. Good God.
We sailing on bracket Bay today, boy.
The Indy Thunder beat the Minnesota Millers 13-1 in a run rule. So their 15-run outburst, the Millers, in that first game died out quickly. I was meant to mention when we were talking about the Millers before that Nick Silver, who we have already brought into the show, played with the Millers this weekend. The Edge beat the Heat 11-4. That was not a run rule or whatever. So both teams. I mean, the Indy's been smoking teams. The Edge have.
Well, yeah, so, but we kind of picked that up from the 11-4 score that it wasn't a 12-run rule. I just say.
Oh, you know what? That's a good call. That was a good call. If I remember right, because all the games are kind of a blur, that game was kind of close. Like the Heat were playing them tough in the first few innings, and then in like the last 2 innings, the Edge just pulled away.
I think it was 4-4 going into the fourth.
Wow! So they hung a bagel on the last 3 innings. Moving on to round 3, finishing up the day. The Jets beat the Hawks, the Blackhawks, 12-11. This is a game Demo and I were talking about after it was over. Brock, what's Brock's first name?
Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel Brock, the rookie that made the all-tournament team in the Thunder game last week, missed a base in the bottom of the 6th that would have tied that game up at 12. A game that Austin actually led for the majority of the game. They gave up the lead, I think, for the first time in the 5th inning. So Austin started out strong, but the Jets they prevailed, just kept fighting back.
I think Austin jumped out to a 5-0 or a 6-0 lead in that game.
I think I tuned into that one a little bit late, so I didn't know how it started out. But I did remember that Austin had that the Jets were chasing after Austin for most of that game, and then they were able to pull it off at the end. Austin seemed to run out of gas towards the end, which honestly is. Go ahead, sir.
They're just an old. I don't know all their players or whatever, but it seems like Mike Finn's a big player. I mean, Mike is incredible shape or whatever. You know what I mean? But it just seems like with Austin, they're going to run out. They have a shelf life in a longer tournament, not this tournament or whatever, but a 3-day day, any day that you play 3 beat ball games is a long day. But it just seems like they are one of the teams that are. It's a young man's sport now, but seems like they might run out of gas as the tournament goes on.
I don't know.
Brock definitely looks like a promising rookie. But that was a big missed base in that game, and I saw he missed one in the Chicago game also. So hopefully, before the World Series, they can get out the bases and get him running bases.
He's gonna. That's the something that you could go back home and excuse me and work on. But talking about like them running out of gas. I mean, honestly, after these last 2 weeks, I feel like there's a lot of these teams. Like we're 6 weeks out. 7 weeks out from the tournament starting. 6 weeks, I would assume. But like a lot of these teams by Sunday, they're not looking as sharp. Like the Thunder come out strong, the Millers come out strong, and then by Sunday they're moving around a lot slower. And I'm thinking like in a 5-day tournament, this is not looking good.
All right. No,
I don't know. I know you checked out a lot of games, Demo. Are you seeing that? You seeing teams run out of gas?
Oh, for sure.
I don't want to say your teammate off, but Atlanta last week.
Yeah, with the Thunder outside of G, it's an older team.
Yeah. Well, and I haven't known all those guys. Like I don't know how old Toby Gregory or Chris Dunn.
They're in their 40s.
Yeah, all right.
That's tough. And in this situation, I think it's hard to. I don't know when everybody flew in, but I think it's hard to get to a tournament on a Friday. Never done it in my life because we never played regional tournaments, and then play 3 games on Saturday. To me, it would seem like a hard thing. But the younger you are, the more you can bounce up on Sunday and take care of business.
Some of them, though, Seth Dog, they're dry. Like the San Antonio. They drive what? How many hours? Demo
like 20 hours, like 18 to 20 hours from San Antonio to Bolingbrook.
That's a trip, man. That's a trip.
So to be locked up in that car for 2 days, play 2 days, and then drive. They jump in that car right after the games are over on Sunday. They're riding home right now. So
they won't get home till like early Monday morning.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's just a tough way to play a game.
It's a tough way to show off your product.
Right.
But I mean, it's the way it is. None of them
it
are
is what
complaining.
it is. No.
For the love of the game. For the love of the game.
You got 1,000 players on the edge.
Yeah. 1,000 young players. The youngest team and the deepest team. Not a good combination if you're not wearing a jersey. Let's run through the rest of round 3.
But we saw that the Thunder went from young to old pretty damn quick.
The Comets beat the Scrappers 5-4 in an extra inning game that Richie Schultz got the walk-off on. Shout out, Richie.
How many extra innings?
Did you ask the question?
I'm sorry.
It's I go through my computer. I can't hear you guys talk.
They made it. It went to the 7th inning.
It was 7th. All right.
Just a quick note on the second round though. Best wishes to Nick Lopez. He passed out or fainted or something in that game.
From what? Or we don't know.
I heard he was maybe just like he got dizzy.
He was standing on the mound first inning, and next thing you know, they're like Nick's on the ground.
Oh,
and so So
Yeah,
I mean, he was able to get out.
apologies
But
yeah, good call,
hopefully he's
Dima.
good.
I forgot about that.
See,
Yeah, definitely.
Neil's so insensitive, doesn't know any of these things. But no, that's scary as hell, man. Especially,
Nick's like 81. So
yeah, when it's an older person, stuff like that, you just like, man, that would have been a scary situation.
I hadn't even caught that. I hadn't even noticed that he was out there pitching. Like he wasn't. It was my understanding he wasn't go pitch anymore. When Chad wasn't pitching, it was going to be Nick's grandson doing the pitching. So I was additionally shocked that he had been out there pitching or whatever. But certainly a shout out to Nick. I hope he's going to be all right. In bracket B, we had the Indy Thunder 14-7 over the Heat, and the Indy Edge 14-2 over the Minnesota Millers. So, like we said, the Millers got off to a really good start, and their offense fizzled after that. In the placement game, that bark right there is what it sounds like when you send me a text. That Doc, that's what, I hear that little bark like that. It's like, oh, Seth Doc sending me a text.
Dog in the house.
All right, in the placement games, Minnesota Millers 5-4 over the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks went 0 for this weekend, finishing in 8th place. Timmy did not pitch in this final game, but that's a surprising weekend from the Blackhawks for me. I don't know about you guys. Any other?
Oh, for sure. You didn't think the Blackhawks, who finished third week before, would come out and go 0 for the following week. So
yeah, I have no problem with people questioning that I had them so high on my ranking, but nobody had them going like 0-4 in a 4-game tournament. That's shocking. So I'm glad they have time to respond because they need to respond. The Bayou City Heat 9-4 over the Cleveland Scrappers. So the Heat fight back and take 5th, which I have to assume is a disappointing finish for them and you, Seth Dog.
Yeah, the Heat. I think the Heat's. I don't know. Well, like you said, they got to figure out what they're all about and what their defense is about. So, they should be finished higher though.
Like, I guess the only game I really watched with them this weekend was against the Edge. I really liked their defense, like with Coughlin and Randy George out there. I thought they were giving them some good production. But I don't know that I wasn't seeing a lot of production on defense outside of those two players. And again, that was just one game for me. But overall, you expect the Heat, especially when they added some new bodies, to be there offensively, and that's where they surprised me that they weren't clicking on offense.
For defensively, on the left side, it's going to be legit with Mike up front, Randy in the middle, and then Rob White getting deep. The left side is going to be tough to score on. Offensively, I think it's hard with two of their starters being in town. Like even Tanner's out of town, but Tanner's Tanner. And but yeah, the rest of them are out of town, and this will be their first year with Fonzie, like Marvin and Randy and Mike. So
it'll be interesting to see how they how they pull it together. I guess I still feel optimistic for them because I believe, like, if they looked horrible on defense, I think 7 weeks out, there's no way they could put it together. But defense, they looked encouraging for the most part. In offense, I think they can figure out. Fonzie's always kind of hot and cold. You know what I mean? He's kind of like a shooting guard in basketball. Like when he's on, everything's going in, but he's going out those times. It's like, stop shooting the ball.
No, that's definitely a true statement.
In the third place game, Chicago Comets taking third, winning 7-2 over the Thunder. It might have been 7-3, but I'm pretty Demo.
I think it was 7-3. 7-3. Okay. The Thunder got one late.
Okay, I had lost track right there at the end. So 7-3. But congratulations to Chicago Comets for a strong showing. Strong showing. I don't know why I didn't. Oh yeah, I did.
What?
It looks like I did write the final games down. So and then the final game was 14-9. The Edge over the Jets. Wasn't as close as it sounds. The Indy Edge came right out. Kyle Kennedy was on fire this weekend for the most part, but the first batter, Eric Rodriguez, hits him on the first pitch. Second pitch of the game, Nick Mulheron hits a home run. First one he's ever been given credit for. And that's just how it started. The end of the inning, it was 14-1, and the Jets were hitting the rest of the way. We were talking about the layout on defense for the Heat. Something that I wanted to mention in last week's show as part of our previewing this tournament and talking about the Jets. And I know I reached out to Demo afterwards, kicking myself that I forgot to bring it up, is their shift on defense. Because they had Zach Arambula last year playing shortstop, and he made the All-Star team. And won it. I think it was the Friday game against the Thunder. He had 12 putouts. Like, he had some monster games at short, but they have shifted it up. Little Meat Ricky is going to be playing in short left. Axel is the middle player on the left side, and they have Zach playing deep left. And then on the right side, they have Lupe Perez, Hall of Famer, playing front right with David Smith in the middle, and double A, Aaron Almanza in the back right. I got to be honest though, the returns, at least today, weren't very good. I thought
Understatement.
I thought going in that their trouble was going to be on offense, and their defense was going to keep them in games. But man, this guy Jeremy came through this weekend. Like, he showed up ready to play. But they couldn't stop the Edge defensively.
Yeah, I'm not sure the reasoning behind the move. But yeah, last year Zach was playing short and Little Meat was playing right short. And them two together up front, that was locked down. So I'm not sure why Little Meat moved over to the left short and Zach moved to deep left. But I also think that creates a hole at the short right because, Aaron and Will and Lupe all are, deep defenders. None of them are really played that short right position in games. So,
Lupe, when he first came to us with the Dogs, we played him at short. We had just lost both Eric Mazariegos and Danny Fabiano, and outside of like me, there weren't a lot of choices. Me or Mike Finn, who had never played short, we didn't have a lot of choices. And so when Lupe joined us, that's actually when he and Don Robinson teamed up and started working together, because we needed Don to get him ready to play short for us. And he wasn't an all-star at short, but he held in there for us. So I actually think Lupe, like, I think that short right spot, I don't know about the consistency. He's not going to be.
In the end, it's to me, and I could be wrong, it's a nothing spot. That spot is they're so low. I mean, the Edge didn't hit there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Lupe was a hole, but you're saying Lupe is a hole, but they didn't hit there, right?
Yeah, no, they
hit
didn't.
the left, right?
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with most right-handed power hitting teams, they're going to hit the left. So who you have in short right, and I rail against this because I think it's a total waste of a person. I'm just saying that putting somebody there, it just doesn't matter. It's not. It's a hole that doesn't need to be filled because not a lot of teams can take advantage of it.
Well, in that Austin game though, even though Daniel Brock missed that base, he hit a little dribbler to Lupe at the short right, and I'm not sure what happened. Lupe didn't make the play, but they're very lucky that Daniel Brock missed that base.
Well, I mean, you're always going to hit. I mean, but here's my thing: you're going to hit a little dribbler, right? And those things shouldn't kill you, no matter what defense you're playing, a single point, two people, or whatever. And so I just don't think where they got killed, and it makes sense, is they were getting killed deep, right? And they moved their best, what would appear to be one of their best defenders, to that deep spot, and to me that makes sense. He didn't lock it down, but what else are you going to do besides load up more people? Which is exactly what I would do on that left side. But you got to put your best players where the balls are going to go, and that makes sense. He got a lot of action. Zach did. He just didn't seal the deal.
Everything you've said is correct. Where not having somebody like whether it's a point player, because there's arguments over whether you should go with the point or two fronts, but either way, you can't give up those short balls. That's the key to that. And if you're playing with two fronts, you have to have somebody on that short right that's not going to give up the short balls. And the Edge scored on a lot of, not so much today, but over the weekend they scored a lot on balls that just their speed was getting them there, because there aren't people taking care of those ground balls up front. So I mean, and the Edge, they've got two of the best with that combination of Eric Rodriguez and Corian White up front. They don't give up anything up front. They don't give up anything up front. And teams, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, teams got to, everybody's got to try to match that. Not match the Edge, but, if you want to be a good defense, you have to have the easy stuff taken care of.
Got to get the easy ones. And that's the thing. Like, this version of the Edge, or like the Thunder we've seen over the last 5 years, if you let up the easy ones, they're gonna bang out 5 or 6 bombs after that.
Yeah.
So you got to get the easy ones.
I mean, it's always the same thing, right? It's like making errors in baseball, right? It always leads to bad stuff. You give up a grounder, it's going to lead to more runs and stuff like that. I just think, like, to say, like, we have a hole over at left or right, which I get, because that's the only person you're allowing to play that area. I get it. I just don't think there's going to be a whole bunch of balls hit that expose that hole. No right-handed, no power hitting team is going to try to hit 50-foot dribble.
Yeah. No, you're not going for that. That's not the goal. And I want to be clear that I'm not on that stance of it's a hole. Like I've played with Lupe, so I know on defense the consistency isn't always going to be there, but I do believe he can make plays. Like I believe in him and making plays.
That's what I want to say. I'm not definitely not saying Lupe as a whole. I
didn't want that to be
and I'm curious to see what the Jets are going to do at the World Series in that right short spot. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying he's a hole either. I love me some Lupe. I'm just saying I wouldn't put a player there to save my life. But that's just me.
I heard that
once Trajan graduates college, we can put.
I heard that specific conversation over this weekend during some of the streaming, and I haven't been on the field since 2009, so I don't have an opinion on what it should be, but I believe it was DB that was talking about it on one of the streams, saying how teams had to get away from the point because of with the faster teams. Like you could get away with it, and you could play the Millers or the Comets even, like not taken away from anything. They're just not very fast teams. You could play a point defensive player up front in the middle against a slower team, but when you're playing like the previous the Thunder and the Jets in this version of the Edge, teams that got that much speed, one person in the middle of the field can't get to both corners. It is the argument. Like if I was playing at 75 feet, I feel good that I could do it, but I could be wrong. I
know two teams that still run that point.
Anybody could do. I mean, I think you can get people to do it. And again, the idea is the balls are stopping. You need to get over to where that ball is, but when you have more people deep, and there are these these people banging the ball, right? You need to put people where the ball is because they're so fast. You don't have time. It is boom. You got to get it or it is done. And the more people you have deep, the better off you're going to be. In my opinion, you can always have somebody go pick up a ball that is stopped, right? It's going to be just a race. But in the end, it is when you are putting that pressure on deep players to field a ball that's been in the air, right then it is hard. It is hard. And the more people you have deep, the better off you are.
I actually thought about that going into this World Series because we expect the fields to be fast. So I actually thought about the benefits of running the point guy with one guy up front and then 5 guys, no shorter than 110 feet.
Right. Well, to me it makes sense against hard hitting teams.
Yeah. Well, Chicago and Atlanta run the point, and those are the only 2s I can think of right now that run the point defense.
Right. No.
Who plays the point for Chicago? Alex. Could be
Alex. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we're go. Let's run down the all tournament team, but Alex made it again on defense. He's having
can I just say something else about the Jets game or whatever?
Yeah.
And it hit me. I mean, because you guys were saying that the pitcher did well. What's his name?
Jeremy Lopez.
Jeremy. And he did, but it hit me as they were sitting there down 14-0. The absence of Kevin, right? If the maybe not even the skill that Kevin has, but kind of that
presence.
Yes, right. It's like, man, that presence, that push, and all that success, right? You always know you have a puncher's chance when Kevin's pitching to you, and you have Kevin on the side, pacing around, upset. You know what I'm saying? There, it spurs teams to greater heights. And when you're down by 14, it was like, man, I don't know, right? I mean, you needed somebody to rally you at that point in time. And I'm not saying Jeremy can't turn into that or whatever. Eventually, obviously, you can once you have started stacking up success, but you have to stack up that success so your team knows they can jump on the bandwagon and ride, So it just seemed like that in tough situations, not having that constant figure that is Kevin, will kind of hurt them, or not hurt them, or what, present a challenge. How about that?
I think they will never admit it, but I think today, going into that second inning when they were in the 12 run, they had to think in the back of their heads, like, because Jeremy hasn't done it yet, Right. Kevin's done it, they had to have that thought in the back of their head, like,
right.
What are we gonna do now?
I'm glad you brought this up, Seth, because I had thought not exactly like yours, but it ties into the same thing, and I had totally forgotten that I wanted to bring it up. But it's basically kind of about the same thing. I listened to a few of the Jets game. And having Demo here, who played with them the last few years, would be a good judge if we're hitting on this. But I want to see the Jets swagger back. Like, they had no swag this weekend. Like, they're always out there singing song, loop that loop it. Demo wanna go home, whatever. All their big songs. I know they can't sing Demo song no more, but I didn't hear no singing. Like, I felt like, as I thought about it, just tripping on it, like how it kind of felt like, just like the rest of us, they're waiting to see how it's going to turn out. Like, they're waiting for that other cue to drop. And you know what I mean? And they made it through Sunday. It's like, it's all right. But, they obviously there's still a gap between them and the edge. But, man, part of that gap could just be their attitude. I want to see that swag back. I want to hear that singing, that cockiness they carry. Go ahead.
I think the guys that are there, Axe and Zach and D. Smith and Loop and Aaron and Lil Meat, are all confident players. And I know they have that swag, but it's a difference when you got Kevin behind you versus you having Jeremy. You just don't. Jeremy hasn't been in that spot, so it's like with Kevin, you like, all right, we know Kevin can pull us out. With Jeremy, exactly. Can Jeremy pull us out?
Right. And that's just it's a question in the mind that has to be in the mind. It's not, and it's not I'm not attacking Jeremy or anything like that. It's just once he started to do it, then you can count on him doing it. But to go from arguably the best, or clearly one of the best pitchers ever to play the game, to a rookie, and then be put in a situation where you need to get 12 runs, 13 runs in that, to bring yourself out. It's just, there's a psychological element there.
Outside of Lupe, I mean, it's not a big deal like for you and I, because we played with so many pitchers like in their first year and stuff.
Right.
Outside of Lupe, there's nobody on that team that's not played with a Hall of Fame pitcher before. Like they've had Kevin their whole career, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, everybody. Everybody outside of
and
Lupe
even
is only known
Loop,
Kevin.
like Loop's had very few, even Loop, when he's gone to other teams, he's played with good pitchers. But like these guys don't know what it's like to go into a season like this. So, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out going forward. They should feel confident. I mean, they know their defense got hit, at least today against the Edge. So they got work to do there, things to figure out. But, they should feel confident going forward. They can hit the ball and score runs.
Right.
Jeremy came through. All right, let's run down this all-tournament team. On defense, Alex Gabino, Chicago Comets, 16 putouts. Good job, Alex. 2 tournaments in a row. Grabbing some hardware. James Michael, same thing, man. Every time James plays now, he's getting on an all-tournament team. Like he got on it I'm sure he's been on regional all-tournament teams before. Last year was his first time getting an MBBA defensive all-tournament team, but he doesn't seem to want to stop, man. Guy just keeps gobbling up balls. Eric Rodriguez has the third best total, 19 putouts. Stanley Griffin, 21 putouts for the Cleveland Scrappers. With the Scrappers not going, Demo, you got any info on Stanley if he's going to play with another team?
Yes, Stanley, Christian Keegley, and Antonio. Forgive me for I don't know his last name. Those three are going to play with Tyler again, like they did last year.
Oh, okay. All right, that's going to give Tyler a nice boost. Plus, with guys like Jamil that they're getting,
and Greg Roberts.
Oh, is that where Greg?
Yeah.
I knew Greg Roberts just like a week ago. It kind of got reminded of me after my rankings came out. It's like, I forgot about Greg. I was kind of careless there, but I forgot to ask where he ended up. So Tyler. So they're going to have a nice little boost of talent. Darius Sterling, the defensive MVP. Dave Sterling, they call him a lot of times, from the Austin Blackhawks, 32 putouts. He had a really good game.
Reverse of his jersey.
Good tournament.
He's 23 with 32.
Oh, is that right? Offensive all tournament. I meant to double check this with you, Demo, as I had it wrong at first. I thought Daryl Miner. There were two for fifth. There were two that tied. Nick Mulheron being one of them, and the other was Gerald Dykes, correct?
Yes.
All right. They both hit 588, going 10 of 17. Toby Gregory, another all-tournament team, made the all-tourney team at the Hitters and Heroes. One of the Thunder's return players, still helping out on offense. He hit 615. Lupe Perez, still making offensive all-tournament teams. Jeremy gets him up there with a 642 average, went 9 for 14. E-Rod, number 2 for the Edge, made both all-tournament teams. He hit, 684. And then Corian White, his defensive mate up front, out on the defense, was offensive MVP, hitting 706. So Corian White continuing on his great young career. Any thoughts from the alternate teams from either of you?
It just shows the difference between last week's fields and this week's field. I mean, last week's MVP was hitting 800, and the lowest guy was like 640 something.
Yeah, much more defensive tournament. But they're playing in the Midwest with 70s weather. It was raining. You know what I mean? The field. Yeah. The fields were going to be better for them. But I think the fields after listening at the rankings committee meeting, listening to everybody talk about the fields, it sounds like that's going to be closer to what Beaumont should be like for everybody, though. That might have given us like a truer run of what the World Series could look like.
I know when I went to Houston in 05 and 08, and I know you guys were there, we would have the World Series down there. To me, those fields were fast. Those were faster offensive fields.
I'll be honest with you, all I remember is hot. That's all I remember.
Yeah, it was definitely hot. It was definitely hot. Yeah.
I'd imagine it'd be if it rains, right? That, even if you're in Texas and it rains a lot, it doesn't matter because the grass is growing. But I'm not sure. I mean, because, like Houston the last couple of years, they haven't even been able to practice because all their practices get rained out during the summer. So the grass is great in Houston.
But they're closer like to the Gulf. I think they get more
exactly
precipitation that way.
Right. So like when I went down there, and I think we were in like College Station or whatever. I mean, that grass wasn't fun. It was not a fun.
There are times like the Austin area goes like months without any rain or it gets really dry. Exactly. I don't know where Beaumont is exactly. It's not that far from Houston.
It's east of Houston.
Yeah,
it's like an hour and a half east of Houston.
Yeah. So it's possible if there's a lot of rain that the fields will be fine.
They may have grass, but it's still gonna be concrete under it. I don't care where you are in Texas. That when it's all hot, that dirt dries out.
Right, especially if they have to water. If they water it, and then it turns to freaking, like you said, rock under it once the mud dries. So. But we'll see. Who knows?
That's really it on this tournament. I do want to circle back to the last tournament briefly. Talking about Jared Woodard, we talked about it a lot on the show last week, having taken a ball off Adam Rodenbeck's bat, cracking his jaw. Apparently, he did not have to have it wired, but the state he's in, he's not able to carry his baby, not able to pick up a certain amount of weight for a while, and that's led to his wife having to take time off work. So there's been a GoFundMe account set up to help them kind of get through this with the living cost and medical cost. And so I know they reached out to the beep ball community, friends and family, to see if people could help. So I'm going to include that GoFundMe link as part of this show on the YouTube page. I'll probably post it in the comments wherever we post the show too. But he's one of our fellow soldiers, so if people can have it in them to help out, go ahead and do so. And I guess that's it on the last two tournaments. You fellas got anything before we check out of here?
Yeah, no, let's talk about these rankings. Don't leave without the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the rankings. I haven't redone them.
Yeah, I haven't redone them. I will just say, you know what? Put the edge at number one and don't worry about the rest.
I mean, that's kind of my problem. I mean, that's the only easy answer. I mean, obviously, I'm down on Austin with the weekend they've had, but outside of the edge, they gave the Jets the best game. The Jets didn't play the edge much better. I mean, they both of these title games last week and this week ended up in run rules, so it's hard to be real high on the teams they're playing in the title games. I mean, I said last week this is a battle for second place, and there's a bunch of teams that are in that group, and I don't feel any differently. Like a team I expected to be. You
don't feel any differently about Austin?
I don't feel any differently about the fight just being up in the air for second place. No, definitely. I mean, Austin's not the front runner for second place at this point. It's easy to say the Jets, but again, they got worked pretty good today. So it's hard to be high on them. I'm not any high. I expected to come out of the weekend being real high on the Heat, and I'm not. They had a lukewarm tournament. They have work to do. A team that's moving up is Chicago. You can't ignore that. Despite the fact that they're not sexy, they keep winning games. They find a way to win.
True.
They're not sexy. A team, I'll tell you this, and this is where I'm going to probably be the least popular. A team that I'm not high on still is Atlanta. I'm not a believer in Atlanta as far as moving up higher than where I had them at 8th. And even though they finished 2nd last week, if Gerald Dykes played in the Thunder game, they don't win that game, in my opinion. They beat the Thunder 13-11. I feel like they would have lost that game if Gerald Dykes was there. I know Chubby wasn't there for Atlanta, but they barely got by the Thunder. Then they
if Chad pitches, that's
if Chad not only if Chad pitches, but they had to come back with like 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th to beat Chicago. So, but I totally agree with you. If Chad pitched that game, I don't think that they win that game. And then they lost to you guys, the Archers, 10-6. Probably the most solid game the Archers have had. The solid win I think the Archers have had this year.
You know the crazy part about that game? I look back at our numbers. We had 12 Ks in that game. They only had to pick up
still beat them
10-6
with 12 Ks. So I'm not high on Atlanta. Atlanta's not shooting into my top 5. I'll tell you that ahead of time. I don't know. I don't know what my ranking's going to be, but I'm not putting Atlanta up really high. I like their product. I love Coach Cody. He was fun on the show. His son's looking like a good up and coming player. I don't know. How can anybody predict what's going to happen at this year's World Series?
I think you write down edge 1 and then just write the field 2 through 10.
Who's playing on field 2? Who's playing on field 3? So, no, I'll try to get my rankings out no later than Tuesday, but I have not sat down and started putting names on paper to see where I'm going to leave people. And it's not going to be easy. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm sure DBs will come out, and I won't look at his till after I do mine. I don't want to be influenced by the only other person that does any kind of ranking.
The only other person that has a big enough ego to think that their rankings
exactly right.
Posted.
Exactly right. I'm actually surprised more people don't do it. Just for the fun.
So the Edge have won every tournament that they've entered this season, but we did see our first crack in their armor with a defector, with Joel Toby leaving the team.
What's up? Give us the scoop, Demo.
So I heard rumblings after last week that he wasn't happy with his playing time. I mean, he only got 4 at-bats in the Thunder tournament. He only got 4 at-bats in the Edge tournament. And he was rookie last year. A promising offensive-looking player. And I heard he wasn't happy with his playing time. So he left the team at the tournament last week. And I don't expect anybody else to leave. But that's the first one.
Oh, I'm sure some people will leave. I want to sit on the bench in that hot ass weather for 4 or 5 days. I know that, man. Not if I'm some 20-something-year-old hot up and coming player. No way.
As their roster was being built, I mean I think it's easy in this first year. It'll be easy, to go out there with all of this talent. But by the end of the tournament, I will be shocked, and I've felt this way for quite a while, if all the talent still wants to stay there. I mean, they're 3 deep at designated fielder. I'm no expert. I don't know where they plan. Nobody there tells me who they plan to play, whatever. Just from my own knowledge of following the players and the teams, for the most part, I know Mark Morris thus far has been hitting a lot, and maybe that will stay the case. But if he's pulled out of the hitting side of the equation, they got him to go designated fielder. They got Miguel Tello now, who's go play with them, who usually fills the role of designated fielder. Jason Dobbs, that's the only thing I've ever seen him do for the Edge, and he's been with.
He hasn't touched the field.
I haven't touched the field at all. Yeah, I'm a Dobbs
and that's
fan.
where I would be just on the. If I had been on the Edge forever, and then all of a sudden all these new people came in and we're going to win a championship, but I ain't going to see no more playing time, that's where it would be really, really hard. Because it's like, man, we built this damn thing, and then, we bring in all this extra talent, and we win a championship, but I'm sitting on the bench. That I think would be hard as a long-time edge player.
They're clearly the favorite to win the ring, so I can see why people are staying. But they have so many people that could go help other teams, like a Jason Dobbs, a Ja'Cory Wiley. They're bringing in Sherlock. Sherlock could have helped out the Bombers or the Philly team and been a key contributor to one of those teams. But he's coming to play with the Edge at the World Series.
I love Sherlock Washington. He's a longtime friend of mine, and I enjoyed having him as a teammate. I forget he's on the Edge because I have never seen him play for the Edge. I've been watching him for 3 years. I don't think I've ever seen Sherlock having it back. I don't watch all their games or anything, but I forget that Sherlock's part of their roster. That's how deep they are.
The last couple of years, he's actually played quite a bit, but he won't see the field too much this year though.
Yeah, no, Nick Silver has left them, but going back while Nick was there and watching some of their games, not seeing Nick play too much, not seeing Ja'Cory Wiley play. I mean, those are two all-stars. So, we're talking about, like, we've mentioned, some of their foundational players who aren't seeing the field a lot. But I mean, they've got all-stars who aren't seeing, former all-stars who aren't seeing the field. So the first season's going to be easy. It'll be interesting to see how all those players feel after the rings are all sized. So,
Timo, how do you feel? How do you feel like sitting on the bench and winning a championship? Is that is that good? I mean, would you be good with that, or would that be like a frustrating thing for you?
I mean, I just went through that with the Jets.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I didn't know if I wanted to jump in.
Yeah. Did they
all right, so they didn't win, but they were a contender, and he wasn't a regular starter.
Yeah, my Colorado team folded. The Jets were picked me up, and I was very grateful for that and thankful to let me come play with them and hit off Kevin his last 2 years. But I felt like I had more game left in my tank than just sitting there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like I wanted to play. So it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do when you feel like you can contribute.
I wasn't on the ugly side of it, but towards the end, that had a lot to do with why I ended up leaving the Dogs, because from my standpoint, and probably Seth's, Don Robinson just got greedy towards the end. He couldn't gather enough good players. I even accused him at one point. I was like, man, dude, if you had 12 all-stars on this team, you would still be unhappy. It's like, of course, why not? The coach is only as good as his players. Like, man, if you need to stack the deck to feel like a good coach. And I'm not saying that's what the Edge is doing, but I mean that, like, I remember I was like, Don, man, players want to play. Like, Don had the attitude that most players would rather sit on a bench if it meant winning a ring as opposed to playing some play. Like, man, we only get to play so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and some players are comfortable with that. I'm not saying everybody feels the way the three of us are talking. You know what I mean? Everybody's different, but.
And my situation with the Jets is a little different. Like, I went down there and they weren't bringing players in because they already had their established players. They're homegrown since 2016. So I went in as an extra. Like, they weren't bringing in extras. I was the extra. So it's not like what the Edge did. They had all their players and they picked up like 4 all-stars this offseason.
Right. Different situation. Yeah. But no, it'd be hard. I would much rather play and lose than sit on the bench and win. That's but. I
mean, I've just been over the last couple of weeks watching the Edge, thought about it, like going back to last season, like the Edge and the Thunder were 2 of the 3 most talented teams, maybe, 2 of the top 2. I'm not sure who was more talented overall out of the Edge and the Jets. But I mean, the Edge and the Thunder, even though the Thunder didn't go away, like the Edge and the Thunder, in a way, folded into one lineup. You got 2 of the 3 most talented squads made up one team now. So Honestly, for our 2 championship games of the 2 biggest tournaments outside the World Series have been run rolled by the second inning. And if that's the best we got to hope for, everybody better hope that these players start defecting and making the other teams better, because otherwise we're not going to have a competitive league for a little while.
All right.
It all plays out. But for the time being, man, congratulations to the Edge. You guys are undefeated and looking very strong. Yeah, man, shout out to Kyle Kennedy, because nobody's taken more heat for whether or not they could be successful. He has not shied away, man. He's popped right in there, giving them everything they need. They don't even need a lot, but he's been everything they need easily.
I've definitely thrown my fair share of shade towards Kyle, and he's proven it. He's proven it. He has what it takes to lead this team. So congrats, Kyle.
No, I didn't say it last week, but it's like I mentioned last week how there's so many teams like beyond who are battling for second that have question marks, and that's what makes it tough to rank. The big question mark, the only question mark really about the Indy Edge is Kyle's never. He's been on the team that's been trying to fight for it. He's never been the team that was going to defend it. Not that they're the defending champs, but they are the team to beat. He's never really taken the mound as the pitcher of the team to beat, and he's responded well so far. So props out to him. All right, man, that's it. Let's get out of here. Between our first take and our second take, we've been around for a while. Man, Demo, thanks a lot for helping us out these last 2 weeks. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. I enjoyed it.
Good, comprehensive recap. So we'll be back at it next week, everybody. Be well until then. Thank you, Septar. Thanks, Demo. Thank you to one Franklin Porter of the undefeated Indy Edge. And we will catch you all next time around. Be well.